Howdy Earthlings, the only thing worse than a YouTuber is one who gets political, right? I go onto the internet to share my opinions and views with the world, and when someone else shares an opinion I don't like, it's disgusting. It makes me sick. I spit on your bad opinions that I don't agree with. Only I should be allowed to have an opinion. Since we're on the internet, I have to state that was a joke, intended to reflect some of the opinions of others that I'm sharing today in an attempt to hold a mirror to them so they understand just how ridiculous they're being. A few days ago, I posted my opinion on the movie Zootopia, a 10-year-old movie that people are still very defensive about. And up front, please watch the entire video before leaving a comment this time. A lot of these comments are from people who clearly didn't watch until the end, assuming my opinions before I even actually got to my full opinion. It makes you look really silly when you jump into a conversation and you don't have the full context. It's like hearing someone with their friends say the word Nintendo, and you decide to walk all the way across the room and insert yourself into that conversation. They don't know who you are, you don't know what they're talking about, and now you look really stupid for saying how much you love Nintendo when they were all talking about how much they hate it. Hopefully that makes sense. Not only is it dumb to pretend to understand a subject or video based on the thumbnail alone, but trying to hold a conversation without knowing the context makes you look bad. So up front, since some of you can't wait until the end of the video for a conclusion, the final statement, but real quick, the "I'm disappointed in you" comments are really stupid. Who are you? I don't know you. You don't know me. The only part of me you know is the parts that I show you, which are scripted and edited. I am not your friend. I'm not your mom, dad, grandparents, or family in general. You being mad at me is not going to make me lose sleep. I don't know who any of you people are, unless you show up in the stream frequently or something, or you're a patron, or you're someone who talks to me frequently. If you've never commented, I wouldn't have even known you were there. A lot of these comments are from names that I'm seeing for the first time, so there isn't even a way for me to know you even watched me before, besides one or two that have a subscriber icon next to them. You're just making yourself upset for no reason. Go watch a different video if you don't like this one. There's a million others. You shouldn't care so heavily about my opinion because I'm a stranger to you, in the same way that you're a stranger to me. Now, let's get started. I don't like the police, but I don't think the police should be abolished. A lot of people thought that I just think police should be done away with in general, or that I hate cops in general. I don't hate cops in general. I think instead their jobs should be divided up into a series of sub-jobs that are handled by different groups within the same police force. Police are overworked and stressed, they have too much responsibility for one job, and that's leading to the government essentially militarizing them rather than dividing their powers into more specialist forces. Some specialist groups within the police exist already, but I think it should be divided up even further. This would mean less generalized training for officers where they have to learn absolutely everything, and more specialized training where they can focus on the things that they're good at. I don't think we should entirely do away with the police. I think we should make their jobs easier by divvying up the work to make their jobs easier and less stressful. We shouldn't be using government funding to turn police into a mobile kill squad. We should be using this money for better training and more effective de-escalation training. Especially that guy in particular who looked at that reporter and shot her with rubber bullets. Fuck that guy in particular. That guy is an asshole. He sucks. But it's better to de-escalate than bring more firearms and escalate a situation that could have been handled more safely for everyone involved. And I think everyone can agree that de-escalation is good. For example, the police should have to work in the counties and cities that they actually live in. This would make them better at de-escalating potentially violent situations. If they know the actual people in their towns better, they can build a better rapport with them, making them more effective because they know the members of their community. This would also lead to more kind responses. If you work with total strangers, you're more likely to exhibit antisocial behaviors with them. Next, there should be a group specifically made for non-violent confrontations, and those officers should be unarmed except for having non-lethal options. These police could carry mace, handcuffs, and batons and the like. These police would receive specialized training that would help improve them in de-escalating situations. This group would be the ones that respond to pretty much anything non-violent and would also double as a patrol force for local events. For violent situations, there would be a group that has tasers, mace, batons, cuffs, and potentially a handgun that is kept in a safe place, and they would be very well trained in its use. These officers would be used only for handling violent crimes. Most domestic disputes can be talked down and de-escalated. I've broken up several fights without ever using force, and all without a baton or mace. There should be a special police force that is trained to work with children specifically and young offenders. The problem is for just as many cops that join the force to be good guys, there are just as many who are joining wanting to shoot people or want to get away with state-sanctioned violence. This was just a couple examples, and I'm not a professional on this stuff. I'm just another person, just like you. I don't know everything like you don't know everything. By having specialized groups, we can improve the people's opinion of the police while reducing the stress and work of the police force at large. By having specialized units, we could assign people to forces that fit their skill set best and reduce the response time for police overall, which would only help everyone. Have you ever called the cops? It takes minimum 30 minutes to an hour before you even see, a car come by. In a sense, you could say that I care more about the mental health and safety of the police than the people who think that they should be militarized, because I want them to focus on de-escalation tactics and improving their mental health. Life isn't a cartoon movie with cute friendly animals. We can't get through this by pretending everything is black and white. Some of the people you rush to call villains started life as everyday people, and for some reason their environment changed them into bad people. I don't believe every cop is bad. I do believe that the current system rewards them for making bad choices. I'm just saying, is there any job where killing an innocent person would let you get to keep your job besides being a medical company CEO or a cop? Should that be a thing? Should that be allowed to happen? So hopefully you listened to all of this before you got your nuts in a twist. You can go crazy in the comments now, go ham. Slam the shit out of that keyboard. But I'm going to continue and do something I recommend you never do. Read and respond to a few comments. These were left behind on the last video, and I thought some of them could use some extra attention and elaboration. Some are just funny too, so I thought I'd share them. Before I continue though, I have some new merch. I made some Dust Plug keychains and they'll be in on Monday. You can get them at the links in the comments or by going to my coffee shop. That is ko-fi.com/SeraProto/shop. Or you can just click the link in the description or comments. It's a lot faster than typing all that out. These dust plugs are a little more useful than your standard keychain. When I made the keychains, people were saying like, oh, I don't have keys to put them on, or I'm getting them and I don't have keys. These are much more useful because everyone has a phone. Everyone has something that has a USB-C plug, right? So why these are great is because they have a little dust plug on them that you can plug into the USB-C port on your Switch, phone, your PC, if you want to, and it just dangles there. You can have just a little miniature me hanging there, and it's cool. And you know what? The Switch 2 has 2 ports. Get 2 of them. You can put one in the bottom and at the top. It would look so weird. But I also found some unsold keychains, of which there's only a few left, and that's the star ones from a while back. If you get one of these star ones, you also get a card signed by me. It's me as the tarot card, the star, so that's pretty cool. But there is a limited amount of all the keychains. There are 20 of the UFO ones and 20 of the Happy Little Me, so get them while you can, because I'm keeping at least one of them each. Why wouldn't I? If these do really well, all these sell out, me and Rook have a plan to make a standee that's shaped like a little hamster wheel with me and some hamster treats floating around inside. And if the dust plugs are useful, these are even more useful because you can just put them on your desk. They're like 2-3 inches tall, and it's a hamster wheel with me floating on the inside, and that'll be very cool. I'm also handling the shipment of these and creation of these all by myself, except for the company that makes the actual acrylic keychains. I've done this before, and I've successfully sent out at least 50 of these keychains before, so it's not like the plushie situation where it's hideous. You are going to get a keychain, and it is going to look good, and it is going to look exactly like the images I put on screen. You're going to get an awesome keychain, I promise. That's it though, back to the video. So yeah, I did a bit of a naughty. I told you I wasn't going to respond to any of these comments, and I knew that if I said that y'all would really let loose and let me know how you really feel. I won't show names because I'm not really here to call people out. I'm just responding to the comments. I'm doing so because some of these are genuinely way too long for me to bother typing out. Your video is moronic in far too many ways for me to completely list. I am beyond f***ing sick of the anti-police attitudes that people like you are constantly trying to put out into society. Zootopia and cop media as a whole is not problematic. Not every cop is corrupted or wants to harm you, and the movie's metaphors about prejudice are incredibly valuable to teach kids. Stop trying to take fun police media away from people, for the love of fucking God. Just let people enjoy stuff. Let people have their escapism. Quit trying to make them hate all police just to satisfy your victimhood complex. It's crazy seeing just how hard some of you go to bat for imaginary characters. I'm anti-police because of my encounters with them having been anti-me. I'm not going to retell the stories in full about how cops haven't been helpful to me in the past or my POC friends. No point in that, since the people who don't agree with me likely didn't watch this far. You call it a victimhood complex because you don't have the context for my experience, which is my own fault. I chose not to include it. I mean, the video was long enough already and you didn't watch that all the way. But being told by a cop that I deserve to be beaten up worse for being gay doesn't sound like a victimhood complex. It sounds like a cop intentionally not doing his job because he was happy a queer got their ass kicked. I'm not trying to convince anyone of anything. This is a platform where we share our opinions, right? The old motto was YouTube broadcast yourself. Why is it that you're allowed to share your opinion, but I can't share mine? I do agree that there are aspects of the movie that are valuable lessons for kids, and I even said in the video towards the end that you didn't watch that we can't teach our kids not to trust cops. But in reality, there are people who are having to teach their kids not to trust cops. Like, I can't tell you how many black parents I've talked to that have said stuff like, I had to tell my son that when a cop is by, make sure you drop anything that's in your hands because you don't want him to assume it's a gun and hurt you. It's fucking devastating. Can you imagine having to tell your kid that? All I'm saying is that I don't think it's a good idea to teach our kids not to trust cops, but in reality, some people have to do that. But you obviously didn't watch that far into the video. I'm also not trying to take any media from anyone. If you truly love Zootopia and you were convinced to hate it by a 7-minute video, and you probably didn't like it as much as you thought you did. There are a lot of comments from people who said they still enjoy the movie, so clearly I didn't ruin anyone's enjoyment of it. But who seriously lets a YouTuber be the basis for every single opinion that they have? Can't you think for yourself? I'm not stopping anyone from enjoying anything, though. I didn't force anyone to watch the video, and I was very transparent in the thumbnail. It wasn't clickbait. You knew exactly what you were getting into when you clicked on it. It says ACAB on the thumbnail, for fuck's sake. I didn't place my hand on yours like it's Ghost and guided you to the thumbnail to click it. You chose to do it. You also chose to watch it for whatever length that you did. If you're upset, it's your fault because you chose to be. You could have clicked one of the many other videos in your feed, but you chose the thing that makes you upset. You also could have clicked off at any moment. Anyone watching could have. Anyone watching still can. I made it very easy to do, actually. It's not a very engaging video. Not a lot of graphics going on here. Also, I don't have to put anti-police attitudes out into the world. They're doing a great job of doing that on their own. But I think this person just wanted to be mad at something because they responded to some other comment threads in a similar, insulting, accusatory tone. They don't seem like they're wanting a discussion so much as wanting to bludgeon me with their opinions the same way they're accusing me of doing so. Projecting. Next comment. The idea that prey cannot be dangerous is a stereotype. I'm not going to read the full thing because it goes on for a while, but this isn't a negative comment, but I do want to say yes, I do agree. As someone who has had rabbits before, they can be pretty dangerous when they feel backed into a corner. It also hurts if they kick you when you're trying to clip their nails. But I don't think Disney was going to go that literal or scientific with it when making the movie, so it's not an angle I bothered with. I'm quoting a specific comment, but a lot of people brought up the scene where Judy threatens Nick with blackmail. That's an example of the system encouraging bad behavior from police. It doesn't matter how we get the criminal to do what we want, as long as they do it. The ends justifying the means. You can mark it up as being part of her character, but doesn't that also say a lot? Wouldn't that suggest that Judy wants to be a cop in order to exert force over others? Next comment. Unironically, I think I Will Survive, the abortion comic, and its sequels are more valuable than the movie itself. Again, this isn't a negative comment, which is why I showed the name. I hate leaving things out of my scripts because when I do, you all end up mentioning it anyway. This was one of those things I was going to include in the script but left out. It's funny that others thought similar too. Next comment. Very disappointed in you, Sarah, but sadly, not surprised people like yourself choose to see nothing but negativity. I don't see nothing but negativity. You didn't watch until the end. Also, I'm not your friend to be disappointed. You overlooked the ultimately positive message that different people can get along. Like a lot of people in the LGBT movement, you turn something that's meant and does quite well creating a message. This is one of those comments where I question how much they actually know about LGBT people in general. This reads like someone who's never talked to an LGBT person ever. Like, why does every presumably straight person think that the LGBT is some sort of secret society like the Illuminati? This isn't the only comment I've seen like this. People on Steam discussions say this shit all the time too. Trust me, as a big homo for 34 years now, the LGBT is nowhere near as cohesive a unit as you think we are. We all just have a group of shared experiences that we all relate to as a community. That shared experience means we all have similar opinions on things like how some groups treat us. Most queer people have been the victim to people who aren't queer being violent or hateful towards us. I was assaulted, put in lockers, bullied, and sent death threats for being gay. And a lot of other LGBT people have experienced similar, so we relate on that. In reality, the LGBT isn't a cohesive unit. There is a ton of infighting. Like, just look into the bi-lesbian discourse or transmedicalism. A lot of us hate each other despite agreeing on a lot of stuff. Straight people, for the most part, can't relate to this because they're used to their identity being the default or the norm. They don't have to think about it. They don't have to experience it as some non-common thing. They've never had to confide in their straight friends to talk about straight struggles. So I guess we seem more cohesive because we have that unifying experience, and straight people can't be friends with each other solely on the basis of a shared experience. I've been a furry for a long time. Frankly, I'm sick of the identity politics being shoved into into everything. The identity politics thing hardly requires mentioning. Identity politics exists because different identities are treated differently. It's really not that hard to understand. This definitely reads like one of those boo-boo, why can't we all just get along folks who were forced to drop the mask for a minute. Being whatever stopped being an issue to me probably before you were born. I'm sorry if you have felt lesser than anyone else because of whatever things you identify it as. It's not right, but sadly some people will hold on to it for whatever reasons. They talk like they're some sort of ageless being. You're probably not much older than me, honestly, so don't pretend like this is some sort of new age issue that only exists because of baby queers or something. I'm 34. If you're older than me, it's not by much. I've been a furry just as long as you have. This stuff hasn't been an issue for you because it's possible that you've never been a victim to it. Again, I'm assuming stuff, and I said possible. I'm glad you at least acknowledge that it exists and you're capable of showing some sympathy, but this really feels like you're like, this doesn't happen to me, so suck it up and deal with it. It's not that bad. Rub some dirt in it, pussy. Sure, we definitely shouldn't attack each other over this, but pretending it's not happening isn't going to fix it. If we as a people are ever going to make any progress, we need to stop raking each other over the coals for irrelevant differences. Not all cops are bad, just like not all minorities are bad, just like everything else on our planet. Are there problems with the police? Yes, absolutely, but painting them all as bad is no different than being bigoted against anyone else. I don't paint them all as bad. I mentioned multiple times that it's the power structure built around the police that reward them for doing bad. Like when I said they have a police union that enables them to get away with murder, or that if they lose their job for a miscarriage of justice, they still have no shortage of backup work. A cop can get away with a lot more than any of us can. Cops shouldn't be able to exist above the law, neither should presidents or CEOs. Businesses shouldn't be treated like people and not be expected to follow the same laws. This is a tangent, but when a civilian kills someone, they would go to jail presumably, right? Then why can insurance companies or other exploitative businesses kill a lot more and just get a fine? I also like that you chose the word bigoted. You're very specific and careful in your wording. The cops aren't a marginalized group. They're one of the most powerful groups in the US. You chose bigoted because you know I can't debate that word's use. Correction, I can debate the use of that word. Bigotry implies prejudice. And prejudice means having a issue with a particular group without having first-hand experience or knowledge of that group. I do have first-hand experience. Well, I've said what I wanted to say. I doubt anyone will read this. Oops. But to anyone who doesn't see the world in just black and white, we need to stop being angry. It's destroying us. Anger gets shit done. You think our forefathers were in a great mood when they stopped being British and chose to make America? Anger gets shit done. Anger motivates people. But for the black and white thing, I don't see the world in black and white, and I even explained that at the end. The knight in shining armor never comes, and the bad guy will always win if he has enough money or power. Crime is something in particular that often gets treated as black and white. For example, I once mentioned that people steal because they don't have enough to provide for themselves. People got upset with that. So people do steal food to survive, or they steal and resell the things to provide for themselves. If you say you wouldn't steal to feed yourself, then you've never been hungry enough. I've been there, and it feels terrible. It's not something anyone should have to resort to doing. Sure, there are some who commit crimes for other reasons, but you could greatly cut down on stealing if people didn't have to guess when their next meal would be. That's something that's very gray that people like to pretend is black and white. So I won't deny that the world isn't black and white, but I also never pretended that it was. Anger is just a natural emotional response though. We're angry because we deserve better, and telling us to not be mad is tone policing. What's also destroying us is ambivalence and complacency. We've all become comfortable and lazy. Throughout all of human history, if there were injustices like the many that we see today, we wouldn't stand for it. Miners would refuse to work, workers would revolt, the people in general would revolt. But now we have all these comforts and distractions to keep us busy. We complain about everything and everyone f***ing us over, but we're afraid to lose the little comforts that we have. Even if it means fighting back would give us that and more. We've lost our dignity. How much more do we have to lose before we start giving a fuck again? It's still a good film, regardless of its creators and message. This is a weird stance to me. There isn't really anything wrong with it, I guess. It's just an odd stance to have. If you separate the creators and the message from the art, then what's left? Talking in pictures? Art is motivated by the creator and contains the message they intended as well as its influence from its time. Unless you don't think of movies as art, this is kind of just a weird position to have. Oh no, cops are good in a movie. Must make a dumb video on it even though it does not need to tackle issues like this because it is a work of fiction. And not every work of fiction needs to perfectly align and address my mighty important political beliefs, especially if, aside from Hobbs herself, none of the other cops actually do that much in the story itself, especially in all caps, especially in not all caps, when the main characters are a bunny cop and Jason Bateman playing Robin Hood's and Fox McCloud's love child. I think you watched this movie for different reasons than everyone else, because you were a little too excited for that. Oh no, someone disagrees with me on the internet, must make a dumb comment on it, blah blah blah, capitalization for attention. attention and emphasis, blah blah blah. Could make a good copy pasta. You failed at elaborating because it sounds like you don't even understand the actual themes of the movie, making it seem like you never saw it. It's fine if you don't want to watch it and you didn't see it, but acting like you know everything that's about the movie when you don't. The post I was elaborating on takes 5 seconds to read. The video was 7 minutes long. The elaboration is 84 times as long as the post. That seems like a pretty good elaboration to me. I've seen the movie. It's not possible for me to know every little thing about a movie because I'm not the creator, and I haven't talked to the creators. No matter how much I absorb the media, I would definitely still leave something out. The movie is a work of art, and art is supposed to invoke a response. Joy, sorrow, laughter, all of that. All the human things that humans do. I don't think the movie is total garbage or irredeemable. I watched it a few times with my niece after Moana. She really liked to watch Moana, and then she would fall asleep during whatever movie played next. Though she fell asleep halfway through Zootopia a couple of times. I didn't try to shut it off or whatever. She's a smart kid and one who's capable of forming her own opinions, as am I, other than the kid part. I'm just going to say it's a little unfair to accuse me of not watching the movie because I saw a different message than you did. Just because I don't agree with you, that just means that I didn't see it, and that's just in total denying the effect that art has on people. This is the end of the video, so I doubt the people who I responded to will see this, but you accuse me of taking the movie too seriously, then you do the same thing when defending it. I also ask that before you jump into a conversation about something, you watch the whole video. It's really obvious when you do this because you always neglect something or you always talk about something that I actually address later in the video. You can't expect me to hear you out if you won't give me the same respect. I don't hate any of you. I don't have an issue with any of you. I don't think of you before this video. I love that you commented though and shared your thoughts with me. There really was so many that this felt like the easier way to handle it. I don't want you to feel like you were called out, which is why I left your names out. Keep in mind that there is always a person on the other side of the screen that you're talking to. Be mad at me if you want, but don't come into a conversation expecting that you can talk shit to me and I won't defend myself. I don't care how many subs I have. I'm a person like you. You don't get special treatment for your opinions just because I have a small platform. If I'm abusing my power by doing this, so be it. But I don't think it's fair that I should have to hold my tongue simply because my opinions are in a video form. Thanks for watching. I have a few more commentary videos coming soon. One is where I let my wife do the ranting for once. She talks about video game graphics and why she doesn't like them. It's deeper than that. But I also talk about my experience with games journalism and why it sucked as a job. If you enjoyed this video, you should check out some of my other commentary stuff on the end card, but now it's time to thank the supporters. You can be one too by becoming a patron, a member, or buying merch, or leaving a super. All those help, and by joining the Patreon or members, you get your name in the credits like Aspirin Artist, Paper, Faye Penguin, Momentary Unicorn, Aurora the Puppy Moth, Sly, Nat, Marius, Yini, Worm Syrup, Rask, Verb, Beef, Bait, Sly again, Colorado Blue, Linky, Baxter Bunny, TG Dante, Fasoku, Linky again, Spikejack, and Malding Brick. Thanks again for watching. I'm going to go do something fun. Probably play more Switch 2 with my partners. Bye!